Desperate to save himself, Tarlock revealed his ability to bloodbend and took Korra far from Republic City.
Far away from Republic City? That means some scenes not in our designated 3 locales? Sign me up. It's nice that the old marionette-style hand position and motions are still used for bloodbending a little bit. It's kind of low-key, never really shown much, but it's still a cool callback to Amon or weird puppets.
You can't keep me in here forever!
Why not? Would that make him a bad guy? Toph did it and just never mentioned it to anyone. Kind of chilling when you think about it. So hold on, Tarlock has a lovely little cabin out in the mountains that just has a giant metal human-sized box in the basement ready to go? This wasn't planned at all. Korra showed up out of nowhere. Why does Tarlock already have this box? Has he done this kind of stuff before?
Who's this? It's 6 in the morning.
6 in the morning? That's new. Back in Avatar, we had normal time delineations, you know, minutes, hours, days, months. But the idea of the Avatar universe using the same clock system as us is never brought up once. Like, no one ever says, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Nothing like that. I guess Korra says midnight when she challenges Amon, but midnight's more of a concept, isn't it? Then again, I guess there's a giant clock that rings on the hour at Aang Island. Anyway, yeah, I guess they have clocks now.
She was upset that I arrested her friends. She asked me to release them, and that's when the Equalists attacked.
But then everything changed when the Equalists attacked.
Tried to protect Korra, but we were outnumbered. Then, I was electrocuted. When I came to, the police had arrived.
Well, that should be a hole in the story that you should know all too well, Tenzin. An Equalist taser glove puts a healthy, grown man such as Tarlock or yourself down for like 2-3 minutes. Tarlock is saying when he came to, the police were already here. If that's the case, who alerted the police? Because the attack was fake, right? And Psychon and the police force aren't in on the fake attack. So why were the police already here if no one was around to call them? Tarlock was simultaneously supposed to be knocked out and the only one that was there. I'm just saying, this story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, hey, Lynn, you've been absent these last couple episodes. What happened to that whole taking Amon down outside the law thing? What? You're still sore because you got thrown across the room? Korra and Tenzin got it just as bad, if not worse, and they're up and in the game. This scene kind of feels weird that she's all sore because of this when Korra gets hit like this. What? That one arm motion did all that? And the belt too? Oh, your thumb. Yeah, I'd probably stay in bed too if my thumb was that messed up. This light glinting off of Toph's statue reminded me of something I meant to talk about last episode but forgot about. Remember the scene where Tarlock is being a dick? No, the other one. No, the other one. Yeah, anyway, you can see the light from the car headlights change dynamically as he moves in front of them, and I just gotta say, that's probably something that's not easy to animate. That's some crazy attention to detail.
Hope you got enough beauty rest. Come on, I'm busting you out.
Why the hell is Lynn allowed back here? She's not the chief anymore. She's not even a cop. Man, Avatar in the prison break's always kind of clunky.
Your fly was down.
No way you caught that visually, so what? You did an unnoticeable seismic sense check just to see? What the hell's the matter with you?
What are you doing here, Aang?
We finally get a good look at the adult versions of some of our heroes from the prior show. Toph doesn't look too bad, she just looks like taller Toph. And Aang, I mean, I'll never understand the decision to give him a chin-strap beard. Otherwise though, pretty good. I guess we might as well cover this now too, the idea that Toph becoming a cop is like a total character assassination. And I don't know, we knew her for a few months when she was 12. Would it be more realistic that she would grow up to be just as wild and immature as she was? Or does it make more sense that she would grow as a person over the nearly 30 years between here and here? And at least she's still definitely characterized to be Toph, still giving Aang the gears and meeting people head on. I'd call those more her core character traits than not wanting to live under any kind of rules like people tend to argue. That was more her motivation for joining the gang and the reason she held a lot of contempt for her parents. It wasn't like when there were rules placed upon her, she just wouldn't have it. She played ball being undercover all the time. Honestly, I think the role of a cop where Toph can exercise her strength and confrontational attitude kind of fits her pretty well. Pretty cool little detail. Looks like this older model of the metal police's tether system actually spooled and shot out of their hips. Unlike in modern day where it spools on their back and shoots from their wrists. Interesting to see that Tenzin has this yin and yang symbol in his office. That sort of imagery was only ever shown in Airbender when Aang noticed it was the symbol Tui and Law made as they circled each other in the spirit pond. Other than that, there was nothing, surprisingly. Maybe this design always stuck in Aang's head though, and he was the one who created the symbol in the Avatar world.
I'm afraid her polar bear dog is missing as well.
Then where do we start?
My guess is the Equalists are hiding underground in the maze of tunnels beneath the city.
Where is everyone? In the whole city? Hello? Hello?
There's a tunnel nearby.
Tenzin just jumping and slow falling down here while everyone else slides down is a nice little 1-second touch.
Motorcycle tracks.
Does the fact they're called motorcycles imply the existence of bicycles? Because I'm still waiting to see one of those if so.
Let's try this way.
And what if Korra's not down there?
Then we pick another tunnel until we find her.
Wait, what? Why are you in these underground tunnels if not to look for Korra? Why are you so sour that Mako wants to find her? Just because Ikki told you Korra likes him? Get over yourself with these weird venomous looks you shoot whenever Mako and Korra are thought of at the same time. Is Asami as jacked as Bolin? Why are they like the same size here?
Hey, is Mako alright? He seems really worried about Korra. Do you think he likes Korra as more than just a friend?
There was this one time during the tournament when Mako and Korra kissed, but...
They kissed?
Okay, now you can start shooting some venomous looks, but up until now, you've just been being unreasonable.
Hide!
Wow, that was lucky that these motorcycles showed up exactly now to show you guys the way. Couldn't we have had Lin, our ex-chief of police, ex-detective, and current seismic sense enthusiast handle that?
That tram goes to the training camp.
Everything was delivered to the prison, sir.
Wow, that was lucky that this conversation happened right now. Lucky again. And you heard this conversation from all the way over there, huh? What the fuck? No one's got eyes on these things? Where's anyone ever in this episode?
It's empty.
Yeah, I can see that.
Man, that guy really earned his paycheck with that delivery.
My officers are inside.
I know Toph could tell who was who based off her seismic sense because that was literally how she saw the world, but Lin can too. Seems like that would be a level of skill developed from using it constantly rather than selectively. Alright, weird one. So we find Lin's cops and we see that one has a mustache. However, in the group of 6 that came with us to find Hiroshi's workshop, only one was shown to have a mustache, and that officer was Song. Now, geniusly, they only have 5 officers in this cell since only 5 were captured, because Song stayed upstairs and was incapacitated by Mako and Bolin. But if Song was the only one to have a mustache, then who's this guy? Wait, actually, now that I think about it, is Officer Song still tied up in that workshop? Because our heroes made an escape through an improvised tunnel, and Hiroshi probably abandoned his home once he was found out. Then the crew was just on the airship, leaving. Did they just leave Song in there, tied up, completely helpless? Oh man, justice for Song.
I'll ask you one more time. Where is she?
Did you just light your fist on fire? That's not what firebending is. Yeah, I'm gatekeeping.
Tarlock's lying!
What?
No, Sho. That is not what Mako was doing in the previous shot. Wait. Who even knows that they're there that hasn't already been taken out? There's no there! On the wall! Moment. They dodged their first 2 using their super hearing, outfoxed the next 2, tied them up, and then the only other 2 people they find, Tenzin takes them out in record time. Who threw the alarm? They haven't been found out yet.
T-block that, fools!
The opposite is also true for a sentiment I brought up a couple episodes back. Sometimes a voice actor can save a line all by themselves, but sometimes, no matter the voice actor, there is simply no saving cringy writing. Man, the lieutenant's here too? Man, this dude's fucking everywhere. Alright, it's a pretty cool way to get out of the situation. Love seeing the good old Avatar creativity come out in interesting ways. But I really have to ask, because of where they land, what are these tunnels? They just burst out from a subterranean tunnel into a slightly less subterranean tunnel? Why the hell are these here? It's not like they're a sewer system or anything.
I remind the council that bloodbending is an incredibly rare skill.
Interesting to see that Aang himself isn't on the council, right? Not only is he an actual representative of the air nomads, he's the Avatar, the ultimate arbitrator. His whole job is to keep things balanced. Then again, I guess his duties to the world, not just this one city. But still, Aang would have definitely had to appoint someone he really trusted to the role of representing him and the air acolytes, so whoever this dude is, I guess he's the homie. He's even got a councilman pin. Everyone wears one of those in modern day too. Everyone except Tarlock. Yakone is also a big fan of Crescent Moon merch, very subtle.
In my years, I have encountered people born with rare and unique bending abilities. I once bested a man with my trusty boomerang who was able to firebend with his mind.
I think they pretty much nail Sokka for all intents and purposes. The design is great, he's in a big leadership role, and he trusts his instincts.
The overwhelming amount of testimony and evidence has convinced this council that Yakone is one of these unique benders.
I don't know if this is exactly how justice should be done in this new world they're trying to build. Eyewitness testimony isn't super powerful in court, and for good reason, and applying the idea of a unique bender to the case based on that alone seems pretty flimsy, but I guess it turns out to be right, so all's forgiven. Like I said, even though this is a pretty egregious use of it, we'll get to the psychic bending talk in Book 3 if we make it that far. Who the hell is this lady behind Aang that is very notably not being bloodbent?
Have you news of Avatar Korra?
We do. You kidnapped her, Tarlock.
What? No!
Equalists attacked us and took her.
But there were no chi blockers here last night. You planted the evidence, didn't you?
Speaking of which, where did Tarlock get access to Equalist gear anyway? The bolus I can handwave away, but the taser glove? Where did that come from? Any Equalist gear that was taken in Tarlock's task force mission should have been handed over to the police, surely, right?
I was here when Avatar Korra arrived last night, but Councilman Tarlock ordered me to leave. I was on my way out when I saw Tarlock bring her down to the garage.
I wish they gave us like a shadow, or maybe this dude barely peeking out from behind a pillar in that scene. That would have been cool, a real overanalyzing moment. Oh well. So I know I've been saying wait a lot in this video, but wait. What exactly does a bloodbender do to knock you out? Do they cut off the blood flow to your brain? If so, this implies Tarlock, and by extension Amon, can just wave their arms at you and cast death upon you. This is like the upper extreme of the breaking the bending system worry I have, where everyone should just have an insta-win move basically, but the show just makes them not use it, because if they do use it, then why don't they use it all the time, right?
Oh, man. I had this awful dream that Korra was taken by this evil bloodbender. So weird.
Bolin, that really happened.
Wow, we're really just writing cliches now? Yakone can also do the cast unconsciousness on everyone bloodbending on the level of an entire giant room, but wouldn't the mob boss type who's just been found guilty and outed himself as actually having the power he's accused of having actually just kill these people? And I know what you're thinking, maybe bloodbending is limited on some level. Maybe he literally just can't. But no, actually like 2 minutes from now, Yakone says, I can and will kill you with bloodbending, Aang. You know, we never see Sokka after this scene, and we don't know how he died. Maybe Yakone put some extra oomph into the bloodbending for the guy who sentenced him to life in prison. Nice that back in Aang's day, probably 40 years ago or so now, the Sodomobile wasn't around, so Yakone uses an ostrich horse and carriage to make his getaway. Aang is bigger, so now the airball is bigger too. Woo! Good to see the streets of Republic City were as iconically empty as today, even back then. I like this scene because it plays around a lot with the ideas Airbender gave us. Katara was able to overpower Hama's bloodbending due to the vague idea that her bending was more powerful than Hama's. Here we see that Aang is clearly not as powerful of a waterbender as Yakone, because Yakone freely bloodbends him without any trouble. Until Aang activates the Avatar state, where he instantly becomes the most powerful bender of everything by like 20 miles. And now Yakone can no longer bloodbend him. So despite not liking the idea of one bender being vaguely more powerful than another, I can still appreciate when they do something cool with the system, like this.
I'm taking away your bending for good.
So Aang takes away Yakone's bending, which honestly harkens forward to an event in the comics where Aang has to wrestle with the idea of taking a villain's bending away, in this very city actually. I say harkens forward because the comics were released much after Korra, despite being set before it, but in those comics, Aang had a much harder time deciding whether to do it or not, mostly because it was more of a moral question, and the thought extended to all of the villain's followers as well. But it's still interesting to see, knowing that later in his life, Aang was very quick to say, no, you're crazy dangerous, I'm taking you out of the game, I don't care. People also don't like how serious Aang seems in these flashbacks, but I don't know, he's 40 years old and he's in a series of very serious situations. It's not like he was always cracking wise even when things were very serious even when he was a kid, right? Aang took things very seriously when it was called for. This is kind of a callback to Toph, Korra being trapped in this box, helpless and having a breakthrough. It probably would have been more helpful if she was a spiritual reincarnation of Toph though, so she could get a flashback on how to get out, but then maybe those flashbacks would just be darkness with sound and that would just be confusing.
My father failed because he tried to rule the city from its rotten underbelly. My plan was perfect. I was to be the city's savior.
So yeah, the sum of Tarlock's ambitions were be a dick, get power, look as good as possible to the masses. All of that subtext of him being something more is mostly for nothing because, oh shit. Oh, hey Lieutenant, man, you're everywhere these days, huh? I guess Amon would have just followed him here? Unless this is like a family cabin or something. This has to be the sickest moment in the whole first book, right? Amon is already scary and weird, but then we just see him walk through Tarlock's bloodbending. Ooh, it's so cool. And the like slight struggle, but only for a moment before he continues walking. Ooh, chef's kiss, man. That shit is so cool. And it gives you a hint on what Amon actually is if you're paying attention and think about it. The only thing we know of that can overpower a bloodbender is a more powerful waterbender, so we know Amon is a waterbender, or some other brand new rule-shattering shit. Either way, it's a pretty cool realization for the viewer. Amon is supposed to be holding Tarlock by the back of his neck here, but in this shot, Amon's hand isn't there, which makes it seem like Tarlock is just kneeling there and letting it happen rather than being held there.
I'll take care of him. You four retrieve the Avatar. Do not underestimate her. Electrocute the box to knock her out before you open it.
How do you know she's in a box? This is very resourceful by Korra, but this is also a very long shock. Are you trying to kill her, man? This is what I like. Korra is so clearly afraid of Amon that she panics and just throws a big attack at him. It seems like maybe not even to attack him, maybe just to get in his way so we can't get close. An interesting relationship between hero and villain, the only person Korra refuses to take head on, so much so that she scrambles away from him as fast as she can. Amon's gotta be thinking like, man, I could catch her no problem if I was allowed to waterbend around my goons. Shit. This is a really strange moment. Korra's a little banged up, yes, but she's still definitely able to move just fine. She was probably locked in that box for a full day, but she seems entirely lucid and quick thinking. She even has enough juice to fuck on these Equalists. So when she's skiing down this mountain and seems totally in control, she just hits a tree root, just like, whoops, oh god.
Naga came looking for me. Good girl.
What the fuck you mean, Naga, you came looking for me, good girl? You should be saying, help, I'm dying.
I was so worried. Are you all right?
I'm fine.
You're fine? I know you're a firebender, but man, you were unconscious, weren't you? Out of the Past is probably one of the better episodes of the season, but it might just be because the flashback stuff is so interesting. It's really fun to see some of the gang again, if only for the brief fleeting moments we do. The mission to save the metal cops is a big downside to the episode though. Everything seems pretty contrived to work out, and the writing, even down to character dialogue, is pretty spotty, and there's some pretty annoying love triangle stuff too. But the flashback stuff, and especially the ending, really carries it. It also cements Amon as not just a big problem from the viewpoint of his movement, but as a unique and singular threat on his own. One that just seems to ignore the laws of the world, even more so than we thought he did. Going forward from here, just the idea of Amon could carry the whole show. So minus the Metal Cop excursion, yeah, pretty solid one. Patreon shoutouts, if you want to see the next 2 episodes of Overanalyzing Korra ahead of the YouTube releases, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons, Dare 50 Kobold, who can turn off your brain electricity by clapping just like one of those old lamps. Keep to Yourself, who can jump as high as they need to, as long as they're performing a bicycle kick on a soccer ball, beat a giraffe to a cross once. Kier Walsh, who went to the gym and found out there weren't enough plates for him to bench, so he had to settle for 10 reps at 630 pounds. Yawn. Laferg 13, who can survive tundra conditions without any gear by raising their body heat by crip walking so goddamn fast. Nicolin's Photography, who could do a no-hand push-up. It's all toes, baby. Roman J. Kopp, who snake-charmed a 5-meter python, and man, those ones are a lot trickier than just moving back and forth with a flute. You need like a bobsled and a live goat. Stephanie Riches, who went whitewater rafting on a surfboard. The former Meaning of Life, who added Please Add Doomsday device onto their pizza order, and I was there when the delivery guy showed up, and I'm just saying, probably don't fuck with them. The 1 a.m. Party, who luckily keeps half of how good they look stored in their mirror reflection, otherwise none of us would stand a chance. Thomas Lautenbach, who expertly only sold 49% of his soul to the devil, so now he has a shot at a cool afterlife, and he can hula hoop like pretty good. Whitrow, who, yes, every Quentin Tarantino movie is based off their life experiences, you can stop asking. And John Wei Fu, who has a date with that lovely woman he met the other week. Unfortunately, his middle ring tea shop is getting poor reviews when it's compared to the upper ring's Jasmine Dragon. And of course, my other fuck you money patrons, Aurora, Balmier Candle, Dragon Shifter, Gene Cree, Jacob 1908, Lemon, Omega Fighter, Sean Martin, Tater of Tots, The Pacifist Warrior, Tiago Nascimento, and William Fisher. And my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, 9Y2Y, A Moss-Covered Raccoon, Ethereal Catnip, Alan Garvin, Andrew Watchett, Austin Gallup, Black Smeem, Blue Food, Bob Deff, Carlo Wren, Chandler Crump, Kobe Smith, Connor Gallery, Dead Rat Fiasco, Deathly Healer, Dizzy Payne, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Donut, Dis10, Emma Not Emma, Aaron Grace, Gianluca Leandro Magi, JL, Jada Jones, Jackson, Jake Hogan, John Ajaka, Justin Fletchall, Justin Wells, Kai D, Kelly, Lord of Mordor, Mac, My Mans, Mark Rethy, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fellon, Mighty Virus, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Potato Scream, Reese, Rocket Miss, Ryan Gregoricos, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplatz, Sean Flowers, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, The Long and Short of It, Thiefy Mole, Tom Cooper, Thomas Graff, Turt Bobs, and some sort of Bareface. Next up, shit finally hits the fan.